Samuel Seafeld, how you going, my friend?
Going great. Thank you, Declan.
That's good. Shall we talk about Sherlock Holmes' Memories of Murder?
Yeah, so basically my role in the film, I was the score writer for most of the music in there that
All
you
of
can
the
hear.
music.
Yeah,
Yeah, and you did
all the
such an
music except
incredible
for,
job.
yeah,
Um,
thank you very much.
Anytime that I show the movie to anyone, the first thing that they always say is that music was incredible and it fit the movie so well. So I have a lot of credit to give to you for that. And
Oh, well,
I think
I'm just happy to hear that it's going down well, you know?
that's good. And really, it was
Mm,
just so invaluable to have, music that was custom made for certain
mm,
scenes. So, I could see that you put a lot of effort into making the beat drops on certain cuts in the clips or cutting between
yeah.
different scenes and so on. And you can see, I think you really put a lot of effort into different emotions that are coming through and a consistency with the type of instruments that you used as well. So I was going to ask you, um, did you have any inspiration behind the music that you did or particular instruments that you chose to use?
Well, I initially, when I first started writing certain tracks, I used a lot more electronic instruments. But then I sort of realized as I downloaded more string samplers and brass and different ones that sort of emulate a real life sound, that definitely works better for Sherlock since it's sort of more representative of his time. And then as the new AI stuff sort of comes in, I can start to incorporate more of those synths and whatever. So it does sort of align with the movie a bit.
Yeah, that's right. And I think initially I said to you as well, I was like, it could be good to use some sort of cool synth kind of stuff. Can you remember the sorts of clips that I sent you for inspiration for things you could use?
There were definitely some from Star Wars and different things. Like I think you sent the Ewoks theme for one of
That's right.
the, yeah.
Come on.
And I actually sort of thought, oh yeah, I could use because I did watch that movie, Star Wars, and the Ewoks theme sort of comes back and goes in different contexts, and that's what I liked to do with Sherlock's theme that I wrote. And as you watch the movie, you hear that sort of da 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 come back a bit, you know?
Quickly, Watson, my notepad.
And it keeps on playing again and again, but something we talked about is that as the movie gets darker and it progresses more, that the Sherlock theme that you developed as well would get darker. So
Yeah,
in the first time you hear it, when he's solving the murder at the start, it's quite light and playful. Then
and
the
played in a
second,
high instrument. Yeah.
yeah, then the
And
second
then
murder, it's
second
a lot
time,
more dark.
and what I've actually done to sort of emphasize that, even though it is a little bit elementary, I've written the original theme in a major key and then just shifted that key to minor, making it sound a bit more melancholy perhaps or a bit more, wary or whatever. It's quite easy to do that and change the emotion of clip, and that's why I liked to demonstrate that progression.
Sherlock Holmes, consulting detective.
Let's also talk about the first um, bite or sound clip of the movie. Sherlock comes out through the door. What was your inspiration or thinking behind that piece?
Well, I actually looked to a lot of older music, and you sort of see that a lot of it just goes down from a normal tonic to some other note in the chord and then just resolves.
Hmm.
So it sort of comes back. You see that a lot in older music of Sherlock's time. So I tried to make it seem as though it was like that, having it resolved before he came out of the door,
Mm,
to make it seem like, he is trying to stay in a time period where he is comfortable and before his world sort of gets flipped upside down a bit.
yeah, and something else I like about that piece of music is that it kind of immediately sets the tone as well. I think you did a really awesome job at that.
Does
Um,
help with audience retention, perhaps, like having some sort of captivating thing with all the leaves falling to sort of grab the attention. That's really, I feel, valuable.
Have we solved a more iconic case since the Baskerville? I feel as if that were 100 years ago.
Another character you developed a theme for was actually Watson. Um, did you want to talk about that theme as well, particularly in the scene on the park bench and what your thoughts were behind that piece? Because that's quite a emotional scene. And I think the
That
music that you
is,
developed
yeah,
really like elevates that scene.
that is one of the most pivotal scenes of the movie, really, where Watson sees as a doctor what's going on with Sherlock and as a friend really wants to help him. So what I've basically done is, as you were saying before, it's hard to sort of take pre-written music and apply it to this. As the conversation progressed through Watson just saying to Holmes, "Oh, maybe it's time you retire. I care about you, this, that." It's sort of more lighthearted. But then when it goes back to Sherlock, it sounds a bit more, deep and angry, perhaps, because Sherlock believes that Watson perhaps isn't doing the best thing for him,
Mm,
you know? So that's really something that I tried to align closely with the film, like at different times when the shot changed, to change that sound, to align it with either Watson's lighthearted feel or Sherlock going, "No, I don't believe that you're helping me."
mm. Yeah, and often when I ask people what was your favorite scene, they'll say, "Oh, that scene in the park bench." And I think that what you did there really helps elevate it a lot. My favorite part of that scene as well is the final part of the score when it's pushing in on Watson and you've just got a few notes of just sadness.
Mm.
Ah,
Because it's just gone from Sherlock going, I am the greatest detective, and boom, 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 and all the music just being massive and a massive bang to end it off. And then it just goes to Watson like, "Da-da-da-da," because he's sad.
yeah.
That's that really sort of aligns trying to align with what he's feeling.
The scene that I think you just totally outdid yourself on is spoilers now, we're getting into spoilers, is the scene at
Yep,
the
alert.
yeah, it's the scene at the end where Sherlock discovers the knife in his
Mm,
walking cane. And I edited that scene and put all the different shots and the clips together. And I just knew that it needed something powerful and it needed to come across. And, lots of other films of this kind of budget or whatever would maybe just go for some stock clips or stock audio to fill that in. And then you kind of have to mold your scene around that. But I knew that with that scene in particular, we needed something that was custom because it needed to hit all the right elements and the right pace and so on. It was a very particular scene. And I think
it's a
you
lot
really are,
easier. Yeah.
yeah,
It's a lot
you,
easier to develop a good film if it's like the audio is sort of built around the shots instead of having to build the shots around the audio.
that's right. And oh man, I cannot imagine any other sort of audio in that scene now anymore.
Hmm.
And I was just wondering what your inspiration or what you were thinking during that scene to put that together as well.
Well, I guess I'll step through it step by step. So the first one is primarily when he's sitting in his office thinking, looking towards his board as to like all the different ones, all the different suspects perhaps, and what they've said to him. And I've just got his theme playing, and the thing is, it's still using the original sort of happy instrument, but since it's slowed down and in that minor key with the really low bass notes, it does sort of seem like something's wrong. Something
Mm.
isn't adding up. And then as he gets closer and closer to discovering what's in his cane, that sort of builds up, as in it's starting to build up towards that moment of comprehension. And that's why it's so important to have music that's synthesized with the film like that. And finally, when the blade is pulled out of the cane and Sherlock discovers that he's in fact the murderer, that sort of emotional violin music that comes back in, along with the bass notes again, just really signify the importance of that revelation that's come to him. And it continues into the flashbacks and everything that's happened. And then there's this final thing, the sort of earringing, the tinnitus, the sort of that sort of plays as he's coming back to himself, coming back to his senses. And this sort of helps to pull him out of that, perhaps that vision, that thing that's pulling him through all those sudden memories, and back to Watson, who is still trying to do the best for him, even though it might not be ethical to shy away from the case now that he knows who did it. That's mainly what I was trying to do. It's just you need to think about what's happening in each part of the scene and make musical choices that
Mm.
sort of correlate with that.
Yeah. Two
And
of my
yeah,
favorite things about that track in particular, I think I mentioned one thing to you that I really wanted, and that was when he pulls the blade out that it drops a heavy note. You did that.
mm,
But one extra thing that, or two extra things actually, you text me and were like, should we include violin somewhere? Sherlock's known for playing violin. I was like, if you can incorporate it, then great. So it was pretty exciting to see that you were able to do that. But one thing, and I don't even know if it was intentional or not, but when he finally opens his eyes at the end and he's snapped out of his trance, there's just like a final note, like zoom, and it's just when he opens his eyes, and it just really like accentuates that he's coming back into himself and he's realized everything. I don't know if you did that on purpose, but it just plays very well with what John, the actor who played Sherlock, was doing.
well, that's basically what I was trying to do. Yeah, you want everything. I wanted everything to sort of be perfectly timed with all those moments that happen in the film, so that the second he pulls out the blade, there's a, and the second he opens his eyes, just a zing from
Hmm.
the earring. If everything's perfectly timed, and this is why it's not possible with stock music to do that, because stock music doesn't know that it's being put on that movie. If everything's perfectly timed with all the shot changes, even though they might be like they won't fit in with the time signature of the score, if everything's just timed perfectly, it increases that
The emotion,
sort of
the intensity.
increases the emotion, intensity, and the attraction, the viewer's attraction to the film, and like how sort of invested they stay in the film,
Absolutely. Yeah.
like retention.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And it is a truth that is most subversive.
There's one final track in the movie as well, and that's the one that plays right at the end when Sherlock's giving the big speech, and he's finished his speech, and then Watson can see that maybe Sherlock's not telling the entire truth here. What's going on? And then he actually does, reveal something extra, more sinister, the real truth. And you play some really
Yeah.
quiet music, building up to the big final moment. What a great way to end it. I was wondering, did you have any thoughts when you were making that piece of music as well?
Well, I just thought if I could bring back Sherlock's theme that one last time, that'd have a really positive impact. And that's sort of why it's so valuable to have a theme associated with a certain set of emotions, that we must uncover the mystery and that the truth must be uncovered, basically. That's what I tried to associate with that. And then when I play it again at the end, people sort of think, oh no, now he's gonna reveal it,
Mm.
because they know that's what's gonna happen.
Yeah, the theme's kind of associated with truth and uncovering stuff and so on.
And Sherlock's drive to just, no matter how much it might negatively impact himself or his job or his reputation, just to make sure that the case is closed.
Yeah.
Because that is the great thing about him, although it is, as Watson says, his fatal flaw.
Yeah, yeah. He does say that. And that's kind of foreshadowing as well for that next scene where, that fatal flaw comes about one last time. And who knows what happens to Sherlock after it cuts to black. But yeah, I think there's certainly enough foreshadowing to say potentially what maybe happened.
Hmm.
Yeah, I guess to wrap it up, finally, I just wanted to say thank you again, Samuel. You contributed so much to the film, and like everyone will go on about, oh, who's your favorite character? Watson, Sherlock, maybe Edward Parks or whatever. But I think one of the real characters that not many people actually actively think about that but did contribute in such a massive way is actually the character of your music. So I just wanted to
Oh,
say thank you very much, and hopefully everyone checks out the movie when it drops.
I do hope so. I'm touched, honestly. I'm just happy to see already the impact that the score is having on people's reception of the film. And that's all I ever wanted, to be honest, to be able to have a positive impact on one of your projects.